I was like really pissed off at like school just for the sake of like Kenya go fisher school. I dropped out effectively from university before I even dropped in. We had like about 100,000 plus in revenue in my matric year. So, like you'll hear of these statistics, you know, talking about shortage of software engineers, blah 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 blah, until you start applying. And it's like, where's this shortage now? I thought I was gonna be rich by the age of 21. I made a lot of bets with a lot of people. I hope they don't contact me right now. That I'm gonna be a millionaire by 21.
Sure.
I'm 25 now, man. He committed suicide in his cell, so he was found hanging dead. And I was building some really cool software at like Telkom. So currently I'm on the VodaPay team. Now I'm running towards Branson, and then his bodyguard is like, you know, like umpetaga ka current. Yeah, umpetaga current dhaman wa kwatra managera medwo gugwadiza.
Welcome to the Millennials Corner, where most of us are lost in a trance.
Except for too, I've got some exciting news to share with you, Fandachne. I mean, you won't believe it. So, we hit 2.1 thousand views on our latest video, and it's all thanks to you. I mean, really, you guys rock. The team at TMC is doing, you know, the happy dance, and we can't thank you enough. And now, to address the elephant in the room, numbers tell us that 81.1% of you, and when I say you, I mean everyone who watched our latest video, have not yet subscribed. What are you waiting for? Hop on the TMC train, and if you are not subscribed, do us a solid and hit that subscribe button. I mean, it will definitely make our day and help keep the TMC magic alive. So to remind you, what is it that you will be subscribing to? TMC is the brainchild of some super cool millennials who like to talk about career development in tech, creativity, and everything else in between. My name is Kailu Yanda. I'm super excited to be taking you on today's episode's fun. So let's get started. Now that the nitty-gritties and the technicalities are out of the way, buckle up, because on today's episode, I'll be bringing you someone who embodies Steve Jobs' philosophy. And that is, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. Introducing Masai Mahapa, a jack of all trades who found love in software development after a short nyana Fling with data science. This guy, I mean, Buffett has got a story for every single day of the week. So for you is to sit back, grab a snack, and let us hear what makes this tech wizard tick. Away, Mr. Mahapa. Welcome to TMC, my dude. Long time coming, Joe.
Yeah, I've been longing for this, brother. Like, I've been longing for this.
It's finally happening.
Yeah, man, I really look up to like your work, and I was like, I really want to have.
You look up to my work?
Yeah. Such a cool
Okay, dog. So to hold other episode and about to start the show with TMC, Renale, this cool thing that we do, and that is to solve riddles. Riddles to solve. And I have this one that I think is actually perfect for your profile. Yeah. So, are you ready for it?
Let's go.
Okay, cool. Let me get my phone. So, the riddle, Masai Erem. Why did the gig add padding top 1000 pixels to his Facebook profile?
Why did the
gig add body padding top 1000 pixels to his Facebook profile?
Who's the gig? What do you mean by the gig?
Maybe a tech gig. A gig. Okay, yeah.
Oh, geek.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you wanted to appear at the bottom. I don't know.
Okay, maybe you want to try again. I mean, your answer tells me that you are really a software developer because it's so close. Facebook profile, padding top, 1000 pixels.
I don't know. The only thing I could think of is like you wanted to put his face at the bottom.
Okay, so
I don't know. Just put him from the top.
Answer. It's because he simply wanted to keep a low profile.
Oh God! Close enough. Close enough. Low bottom. Close enough. Close enough. Close enough. Wait. Oh God! Yeah. Oh God! I wasn't expecting that. You got me.
Yeah, it's that.
How did you even know that?
No, I didn't. I just Googled it.
Oh.
Yeah, I just Googled it. I was like, let me find, a Riddle. I'm smart, but not like that geek smart. So yeah, man. I mean, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about Masai and who Masai is, and just give us like a little bit of your background story.
Yeah. So I grew up in the city/town of Polokwane, in Limpopo. I grew up in a family of 4, like 2 siblings, parents. So I spent most of my life there. I didn't really move around a lot. I was like the should I say, I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and I wasn't good at anything, funny enough, growing up, because kids would go out and play sports and all that. So for most of my life, I wasn't good at anything until I started playing chess, right? So in primary, I started playing chess, and I fell in love with how people would just sit down and not have to run around, and they would checkmate and all that. So for me that was really interesting. So I got into that, and I in my first year of playing chess, I got to play for the provincial team, which was really amazing for me. So that's when I started to get the honeys. That's how I got to then believe in myself, if I may. That's when I was like, oh damn, I could actually do something.
What school did you go to?
So I went to a school called PCS, which is Pietersburg. Pietersburg is Polokwane. The previous name, colonial name for Polokwane. So it was Pietersburg Comprehensive School. That's where I went to for my primary, and then for my high school I went to a school called Capricorn High School, which is also within. Just close by, within the town, So I went to Capricorn High School, and I, in my grade 10, chose to do IT because I was looking for subjects, and I didn't want subjects where I had to spend a lot of time, writing a lot of, I don't know whether it would be essays or whatever, and I wasn't good at a lot of stuff. So I was like, alright, cool, just give me the computers, let's go. So it was just by coincidence that I went down that route, and So,
and I mean, I find it really fascinating that you say you went into IT because you did not like writing that much. But you wrote a book. Tell me about the title of this. I find it really fascinating. The title of the book, what it was, and why did you choose to write a book at that time? What is it that you thought was an idea worthy of sharing with the world at your age, especially?
So it's crazy. A lot of people don't know that I wrote a book besides my very close family and friends. So during my matric year, I was really pissed off at school, right? I did not get along with a lot of my teachers, and it wasn't because I was rebellious just for the sake of can I go fisher school or whatever. It was more from I would ask questions and they wouldn't give me the answers that I would want, right? So I would ask my maths teacher, why am I learning all this formulae, in class? And she would be like, because you need to know this so that you can pass. And so it didn't make sense to me if is that the only reason I need to learn this just so I can pass? What's the goal of passing? She didn't give me, I didn't get a lot of enthusiasm from like doing a lot of the schoolwork because I was like, I'm not gonna need this. So why am I doing it? So like I was very picky in terms of what I studied. So during my matric, which was a very rebellious move for me, while people my age were like studying for their exams and like taking extra classes, I was writing a book, right? And I titled the book Dropout.
Okay.
So I dropped out effectively from university before I even dropped in, right? Which is funny enough, like because I was like, I'm not gonna go like to further my studies. Well, my parents forced me to like. I actually wanted to drop out in grade 11. My parents were like, chance. Never. I'm cool, comfy to blow me down.
Our roof.
Yeah, no. They weren't even laughing about it. Yeah, they weren't laughing about it. So I then was like, okay, cool. I'll just finish my matric. So I actually calculated, okay, cool, how much I would need for each subject just to get the pass mark. Right, so I was like, okay, cool. Going into the exam, I need to get out of that paper of like 150. I would need to get like 40 out of 150, and then I would pass because like, you know how like they combine your like like term 1 to 3, and then like your exam, which would count for like 75% or 50% for some subjects. So I was like, okay, cool. As long as I can pass, so I was like, just make it enough so you don't fail. That was my goal. Like I wasn't like trying to get like distinctions or all that. I mean, which is cool for some people who are trying to like be doctors and all that. So I wrote a book called Dropout. Actually, funny enough, got a publisher who was willing to actually publish the book. So I had an editor who worked with me on the book, right? So I would send him my work, and then he would be like, okay, cool, like your English, your grammar and all that, like make it, and like it was like a back and forth work that I was doing during my exams, to like try and like prove my point of why I feel like people can learn, from other sources and not just from like one source of information, or which is school, which is like, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, So I was like, you can probably like circumvent that like traditional route. Which was meant like to like make factory workers back in the day. Yeah, it's like sit down, because when you get to school, right, and it's like and it's like you aren't allowed to like stand up unless you have to like raise your hand first before you can like say anything. Like they don't really care so much about what you think, like your opinion. You've got to give the right answers. Like it's kind of like. It's great for most people, but like I feel like it's not the only answer. Most especially in our current day and age, where people have like the wealth, at the fingertips with the internet. Yeah.
So what you're effectively saying is that like the usual linear trajectory of education is not relevant anymore. What inspired those ideas? I mean, during that time, where did you actually get such strong ideas to say this is not the way or the route I want to take?
Yeah, so I'm a child of the internet, right? And I remember I came across a guy called Aaron Swartz, right? I don't remember how I got to him, but he's one of the co-founders of Reddit. I don't know if you know Reddit.
Yeah, I know. I read Reddit a lot.
Reddit is cool.
Yeah, every time I look for like authentic ideas around different topics, Reddit is my first to platform.
Cool. So one of the co-founders of Reddit, right? His name was Aaron Swartz, right? So his idea was that information should be free and shouldn't be locked up behind the doors of like your major institutions. So he was at MIT, if I'm not wrong. So it was either MIT or Harvard, right? So one of the two. You know how like those top guys go to like those top schools. So he like hacked into the system of MIT, or like he went into the computers. He cloned, a lot of the research papers, and then he uploaded them on a website he had created. I think it was called Open Library. I think it's still up if I'm not wrong. So he uploaded like those files so that other people can actually have access to them, because he felt like a lot of people, majority of your population will not go to Harvard, right? Will not go to your top institutions like your Wits and all. By default, like only 1,000 like kids get accepted out of how many? Like out of like, I don't know, 100,000. So by default, you won't have, majority of the population going through those so Ivy League schools. So he was like, okay, cool. Right now we have the internet, and then like anybody can just access this information. It doesn't have to be like for your top 1%, right? So effectively he did that, and then he got like arrested, and then the US government like gave him like 20 years behind bars, and then they gave him like $1 million fine, right? So he committed suicide in his cell. So he was found hanging dead. But the movement that he had created, I don't know if you might have heard of like a group of hackers called Anonymous.
Maybe that's why I don't know them, because they are anonymous.
Yeah. You so you wouldn't know like any individual people. I might be part of. Okay, well, I wouldn't be saying I'm part of Anonymous if I was anonymous. Sure. But yeah, so they're just a group of hackers who went on with that ideology of like information should be free. So they would hack for good, right? So it's like cool. Textbooks and like research papers and like open sourcing a lot of information so that like it could be shared with a lot of people around the world who just simply have access to an internet connection. And so that's where I like felt like, damn, I learn a lot myself from the internet, and like there's so much that a lot of people are missing out on by just like following what you only find in class. So that's pretty much where it stemmed from.
Sure. Okay, sweet. That's a really fascinating story.
A lot of people don't know about it, but
yeah, I mean,
I wish like a lot of people. I mean, he's like the co-founder of Reddit, which is like a really huge site. He went through like a business incubator called Y Combinator. Okay. Yeah. He was living in his like dorm. And he sold like they got funding from Reddit, so he was worth a couple $1 million, but then he was still living like a shoebox sized.
This was
like
a long
apartment.
time before Quora, right?
What's Quora?
Quora, it's almost the same as Reddit.
Oh, Quora with Q. Yeah, geez, I don't know how old is Quora. I've just seen Quora existing. I've never really like known how long Quora, but I think they were the first batch of like Y Combinator, and
Yeah, guys, like that is like really, it gave me a mental orgasm. That's why I seem like I'm lost right now. But we're still here talking to Masai about, the just fundamentals of the junior software development, and then we haven't changed the topic. So Masai, just to get back to it, I want to get a sense of how did the journey begin for you, from the beginning and now where you find yourself working with, big households names such as Vodacom and the likes of, your Telkoms. How did everything like start?
Jeez, I went through quite a strange journey. I failed a lot. Right, and I guess most people probably would never know about like all that stuff. So I was trying a lot of things, right? So before I even got into software development or like data science or anything whatsoever, I was a farmer at some point. Like after my high school, I was just trying out all sorts of things. Like I would read like textbooks on like farming. So I actually went on and like I went for like one season of actually farming sugar beans, and like I just like got like a piece of like like land. I think it was like 1 hectare, and then I was like farming sugar beans over there, and then I sold those sugar beans to like the local market. It's called NTK. It's called NTK.
So you started a business to make money as soon as possible.
Yeah. So for me, because I always viewed myself as a business person, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. I can probably, wherever like there's a problem or there's demand, like at that time, I think there was a bit of a shortage of sugar beans. So I was like, okay, cool. how easy is this for me to make? Because I'm not like an agricultural graduate who knows a lot about this. Do I just water this plant and then like it grows? Yeah. So I went through that and I failed dismally. I lost a lot of money, and that was even after I did entertainment, by the way. So before that, like I thought I was gonna be rich by the age of 21. I made a lot of bets with a lot of people. I hope they don't contact me right now. That I'm gonna be a millionaire by 21.
Sure.
I'm 25 now. You know, so I did entertainment. I made like events, festivals to be precise, festivals and fashion shows. I remember the biggest show that I made. I was in my matric year.
I actually want to talk about talking about your biggest show. Is it leading up to how you found this, like you find your place in software development?
It comes at a later stage, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I went down that entertainment route, right? So I used to make. So the reason why I actually made a festival to begin with, right? So I was like, I'm making an online store called Retro21, right? So the online store would sell fashion. So I got brands like Empire. So these are local brands in my hometown, right? So Empire. I tried to get a hold of Galaxy Boy, but like Thoughts wasn't like very convinced. But I mean, so I had to buy his stock to list it on my site. But then like otherwise I got like your Dirty Lollies was also from Pretoria. That was from Pretoria as well. And like other brands. So it was like just an online store because I was like, okay, cool. Right now, this was like 2015. So I was like, okay, cool. Right now things are coming online, and how about we get this like, one stop shop for like fashion online? And this was at the time where you had like your Zando, but then there wasn't any streetwear, right? So I then like, created this online store. I think I used Shopify. I wasn't coding like that much. I tried to code it because I had a bit of HTML experience, but then like it looked whack. So I just like used Shopify. And then, yeah, so that was my first taste of tech, actually, right? I was trying to like combine tech with streetwear and like create an online store in 2015, and that sucked, and that failed.
An idea of making money.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna be rich. That's why I made pairs with people that I'm gonna be rich. That's why, So, so I was like, okay, cool. In order to launch this, I'm gonna have to make a festival, right? As like the launch event of this online store. A lot of people came to the festival. I think I don't know if you remember Brazo Africa. Yeah. So I called Brazo Africa to actually play at the event, like, and Problem Child. I don't know if you might like know them, but like, yeah. So I called like these guys who were like top DJs at the times to come and play at my event. Even Mangi Kayosomudupi from Scandal, at the time took yeah. So I called them. I was like, guys, I'm trying to do this, and they came to the festival. A lot of people came to the festival. Cool, festival went well.
Is this the same one where you had, who's this guy? No. Shane Eagles?
No. Okay. That was the first one, right? So this one I'm talking about is the first one. So it went well, and my tech startup for like online fashion failed dismally. I never sold even one like shirt or... I was sitting at home with piles of clothes. I still do have them till today. Of like swag that I... had hoped to sell, So I failed dismally, but then the events were going quite well. So that's when I was like, okay, cool, I can actually make money from events. So I then hosted another festival, like, and then I invited the likes of Tilo Magolide and all that, So now I had a big festival. Like, I think I had like over 2,000 people. Dog, this was my trick year, actually. And next thing I realized, dog, I think we had like about 100,000 plus in revenue in my matric year.
So you made 100,000 something plus while you were in matric?
Yeah.
This is just profit?
No. Oh, that's revenue. That's revenue. So obviously there's like a split share with like the venue owner, because we didn't have our own venue, because like we didn't have a lot of capital, because I didn't have a lot of capital because like I actually was still in matric. So the money that I made was from selling lollipops and like some little sweet called Choki Choki at school. Sure. So I sold these just so I can pay Stilo. to come and perform, like, because like you need a deposit in order to start marketing. So like Steel was like, okay, cool.
So you paid Steel from the Choki lollipops. Dog, I love your
So
work.
I contacted him and he's like, okay, cool, I want this much. And I was like, okay, cool, I can make 300 rand a day from school. Profit, right? So I was like, okay, cool. If I can make this a day from school, I can pay Stilo in X amount of weeks. So that's what I did. So, and then I got like a venue owner to like give me his venue, and then I give him the profit, like some of the profit that we make and all that. But cool. Past that, we made another, that was successful, right? Made another event. Now we came to Pretoria, right? And we were like, okay, cool. Big city lights. This is where everything happens. Came to Pretoria, hosted an event. I had like, really huge sound and stage and lighting systems and all that, like, right, which was like very, very proper. We had like a rooftop of Tshwane China Mall, right? Yeah. So we had the entire rooftop. We had security, armed security, which was quite crazy because this was at the end of a matric.
Sure.
And we
at the time, you're not thinking about varsity.
No. Fuck varsity. So after all of that hard work, we sold 3 tickets. Because none of my friends or my following could actually come to Pretoria. Now I'm talking about like high school kids, grade 11, they couldn't come to Pretoria. So came to Pretoria, I know no one.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to like be like, hey, pull through to this place. And like, we're going to be, I invited Saudi, Shane Eagle, some of like your top DJs like Snow Deep, Mamelody, come on. Yeah. So we had like those guys and like, like it that night it was raining, there was a storm. I remember the sound, and I was just like walking through the rain crying because I now had lost like all of the profit I had made from like the past 2 years, and like now I was just walking through the rain. I remember that night, it was like very painful, Yeah. So now I was like back to like the bottom, and my family was like, at least just don't commit suicide.
Bro, how do you get out of that to continue on your journey to finding your place in software development?
So now from that, I was like, damn, right now I'm down below, right? What can I do that doesn't need capital? Because I don't have capital right now. I'm down below. Like I'm in the pits, and I need to like do something, and I'm not gonna go to school, right? But like, how do I, get anything or do anything that like could be of value to the world without any form of capital? I have a computer. I have a laptop. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe let's try programming. Right, and then now I installed, your Visual Studio Code, which is like a code editor, what you use to like write code, right? So imagine like Microsoft Word for writing code instead of essays. So yeah, I then installed that, your HTML and all that, and then like I started dabbling around with like the idea of creating and building stuff. I never told anybody about this, but I tried to create a porn website.
Because I was like, money,
there's a lot of money there. People are watching. How am I want to be part of this, because I was like, I could create image galleries, because that's what you learn when you try to program, right? HTML, and like you could put images on your screen, right? Now people don't just pay for images unless they're like maybe explain.
You don't have those magazines, because back in the days we used to watch porn magazines.
Yeah. So now that's now how like I was like, oh damn, this is actually exciting. I mean that never took off. That idea never took off. I've never revisited it. Yeah. So I then later applied to an institution called Umuzi.
Sweet. So okay, sure. Maybe just to get a sense of who Umuzi is and what they do.
Yeah. So Umuzi is like an institution that pretty much helps the youth become job ready, right? So I'll explain from a tech perspective actually, right? So they would take on a group of young people who know or don't know how to code. It's not a prerequisite, right? So it's just like your willingness to learn. So young, hungry people, and they train them, and then they put them in jobs effectively, right? So they're trying to bridge the gap between the corporates that want people with experience and the youth that has no experience, right? Sure. So they're trying to bridge like what you would find in a computer science course, you know, of like 4 years, and then they would like squeeze it into like 9 months, because it's actually a boot camp. You know, if like you've ever heard of like these boot camps that like, you know, people go to learn a particular skill. So I went to one such boot camp called Umuzi. I applied for data science, right? I actually applied twice. I got rejected once, and on my second attempt, I got accepted, and that's where I had to learn how to properly work with teams of people, you know, because tech in isolation is just like a tool, you know. If you've got a hammer, it's just a tool. But then once you know that, like, you know, I wanna, you know, create, you know, furniture, what type of furniture and all that, like, that's where now the rest of the team comes in, like, you know, and like, that's where you then, you know, get to build valuable things for the world and not just tech for the sake of tech. So yeah, I went to this institution called Umuzi. 9 months later, I got placement, you know, at a company in Wynberg, Sandton, to do data science. I worked there for 3 months.
Is it Wynberg Sandton or Wynberg Alex?
Hey, it's actually in between.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in between. It's walking distance from either or. So, yeah.
Because I get a lot of people who actually stay in Alex. They'll be like, nah, because, you know, it says Sandton on the address. It's Sandton. And it's just separated by a line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, now I was in Wynberg, and then I was working for this firm, right? So they had an online store and a retail premises. So I was like on the like digital side of things. So I was like, you know, helping to scrape data. So scraping data is pretty much, my job there was to like collect data from the internet, right? So you can imagine so there are hundreds of websites that one needs to collect data from, right? And you can imagine the thousands and thousands of pages from suppliers that I need to, you know, collect all the product related data and put it in a spreadsheet and like upload it to like the website and say that we are selling like 1, 2, 3. When I got, like, it was just taking too long. So luckily, because I mean, I was hired as like a data scientist. So I was like, okay, cool, let me just jump onto this side. Because like, I mean, I could do analytics, but like there was like a real problem at that time. I'm a problem solver. Yeah. So I got there, and then now I was just building scripts as in like programs to just go around the internet on specific websites, get there and collect data, right? So that they're called crawlers, right? Yeah, or like you can imagine spiders just crawling around, you know, websites, collecting, you know, data and all that. And like, you know, instead of a human doing that, they would do that on their own and like, you know, output, you know, Excel sheets and all that. So that was my first experience into like, you know, the real world, you know, after Umuzi. So when I was there, I kind of realized that, damn, maybe one could actually do software development, you know, because I mean, data science is one thing. I mean, it's kind of fascinating, but then you don't have the power to do stuff at will. If you don't have data, you can't do much, like, because it's data science. It requires data, right? So you have like a cold start problem. Cold start meaning like, you know, you have prerequisites. If you don't have those prerequisites, like, you're kind of like screwed. So for me, I was like, okay, cool. Now maybe I could try software development, right? So I left that job, and then I spent about 3 months just like, you know, upskilling myself in software development.
So was this 3 months sponsored by anyone?
No. This was me at home. So I saved up money from my job so I could actually go on a sabbatical, right? So I went back home. I went back home to Polokwane. I took some time off, just like being on the internet and learning. And then I got the opportunity presented by Umuzi to actually now go do software development with Telkom. So so I went there and like I was just a junior for 2 years, and I was building some really cool software at like Telkom, which was actually quite amazing because I now got to create real world products.
And now you're at Telkom, you're thinking I made it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I could tell my family that, like, no, ngiyasebenza. No, ngiyaspana no, loja ke go femeng e kgolo. Sure. Yeah, ke go femeng e kgolo, and like my family was like really happy. Yeah, you know how like they were like initially it's kind of like I'm going to Umuzi. They're like, what is Umuzi now? People are going to vets, people are going to UCT.
Wena usuka emzini ufuna kuya Umuzi
uya Umuzi. Where chief? So it was like actually like a relief for my family. That's what like they're like they bro, they're like, this guy's onto something. So now obviously now the cheese is also bumped up. Yeah. Now I can attend family gatherings. Now I can attend family gatherings because like in within the black community, every time you go to your family gatherings, now I know better. And it's like before I was like Hakigu movies, but now I'm like I'm with Telkom now, so it's like oh yeah, Telkom, like that's something reputable. That's a reputable company. So that's where now I got a lot of my experience within the industry. I met a lot of people. And I got to engage and learn a lot of other, tech stacks or like technologies and all that. And after 2 years, I decided to like move on to something else.
But let's talk about the role of software developers in society, what it is, and for somebody who has landed a job in, big corporations like Telkom and your Vodacom, what can they expect to be doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. Well, so software development is basically, the creation of, computer programs, right? So computer programs being the stuff that you use on, from like your mobile phone, to like your TV like screen, like when you like pressing around, switching between different channels and all that. Like there's software development involved at some at some level, right? So I basically it's just the creation of. You are allowed to bring stuff into life, into existence. Like you have an idea right now and you can implement it, right? So in a corporate type of setting, right, it would be like it would involve like a lot of talking to stakeholders, right? So people known as product owners, right? So product owner probably being someone within the company. If you are trying to create new applications, whether it's a mobile application for your company or not even like the whole application, right? It might just be like, you creating applications for certain campaigns, right? So companies have, advertising departments and all that, right? And then they might, create new products, and then you might have to like create like the software that backs those products. If like there's like a December campaign for like your company, and then like they need a way to register users, right? You need forms for users to sign up. They need some way to if you need to like send email marketing campaigns or all that, like there's software that needs to like be built to enable your campaigns to actually like run and like so it's in effect the lifeblood of modern day companies. There's a saying, I don't remember who said this, maybe Paul Graham. He said like software will eat the world, and this was like in the 90s, and it's still chowing, it's still chowing, and yeah, so That's pretty much like software in like software development, in a nutshell from my perspective.
So the role of, I think maybe I was also captured by the idea of software eating the world.
Yeah.
In today's society, what is software's place and what role does it actually play? Like its importance.
So, and this is not going to be like a textbook, explanation. So the role that software plays is it enables leverage, right? So you can write one, computer program, let's call it Uber, to help serve millions of users, or like a Facebook or like an Instagram, right? Like, so one huge program can like serve millions of people. So you could in effect have like, an Uber off of, imagine if you had it off of like an application, right? You could actually have it, and it's been in existence, right? Just call a driver, hey, I need you to pick me up, and then like a driver's like, okay, cool, I'm coming, and then you're gonna have to call the driver, hey, otlamukai, So, but once you package that in the form of software, you can now at scale serve a lot of users, then that's where you can like, have platforms, and then you can look at your phone and track, oh, my Uber driver's like 5 minutes away. That's software in action. Not that you can't do those things. You can do those things, but software enables them to be done at a much larger scale and like simplifying them. So that's where I feel like software has the greatest impact, within society, and like it's known as like zero marginal cost, right? So zero marginal cost. So marginal cost, for those who don't know, is like, the cost. If I had like, I don't know, one car, right? If I wanna create another car, how much is it gonna cost me, right? Sure. So if maybe it's gonna cost, let's say it's gonna cost me, I don't know, 50 rands in material, maybe in plastic and glue and whatever, and paint to make another car. My marginal cost is 50 rand, so it's 50 rand per car, effectively, to create every extra car, right? Yeah. Now, in order to have any extra user on Facebook, how much does it cost? Zero, right? So that's where zero marginal cost comes in. How much does it cost to have an extra user?
So that's what makes it scalable.
That's what makes it scalable, because like you don't have to, put in 100 rand to have another user sign up, So that's the beauty in it, and it's also permissionless. It's known as like permissionless. So meaning for you to like, write software or to create a new feature, you don't need permission from like, anybody. Like you can just like literally just like build it like right now, and then like if it works, like deploy it. Like that's kind of like where like your zero marginal cost and like permissionless. That's where like I feel like makes it like very, very powerful, and that's why it still until today continues to eat the world.
I love software, and I think that's why software developers are happy. Yeah.
Are they happy? I don't know.
Than husbands. Because if you're a husband, you need to go to the father of the daughter to say, can I, ask, for a hand in marriage with your daughter, and then you pay whatever that you pay. But with software engineering, you don't need to be speaking to nobody's dad to get started.
Yeah. That's how I got into it, right? So it's like, if you remember, I had a laptop. And it was like, how can I create something, So I don't need permission. I can just like start doing something. Like I can take action.
And you being you're like the type of a guy who never liked to ask for permission. You've always did whatever that you wanted to do. Yeah. So let's actually talk briefly about, since you've been, like a junior software developer, what are the common challenges that are faced by junior developers in the industry?
So when you're saying junior developers, are we talking about people who are within jobs, or people who haven't yet like secured their first gig? As a
talking up, let's start. I think it's important for both, actually.
Yeah.
Let's first start with people who want to secure jobs.
Yeah.
And secondly, we'll jump into the ones who are already in jobs.
Yeah. Well, so for junior developers who want to come into the industry, You know,
Don't come. It's a congested industry.
Yeah, so
Arcos huli squeezer in.
yeah, I know. Umtato squeeze in the bottom. Like, because look, there are a lot of people who are coming in, and the reason for this is because the barrier to entry is fairly low, right? If you have a computer, internet connection, you can in effect call yourself a junior developer, right? So the competition at the bottom is low. So I mean, you'll hear about how
The competition at the bottom is low or high?
oh no, it's high, right? The barrier to entry at the bottom is very low, right? So you just need a computer, and then you can, like, in effect start looking for jobs. But you know, the competition is so much that it's so hard to get a job. Like, you'll hear of these statistics, you know, talking about, yeah, shortage of software engineers, blah 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 blah, until you start applying. And it's like, where's this shortage now? You know, because it's easy, and it's like to like spend like years or months looking for a job. And like, you know, I've been in this position as well, where like, you know, I've been applying for like 50 jobs per day on all these portals. And like, you know, every morning when you wake up, the first thing when you check your emails is like, you know, from these job portals is like, sorry to inform you that
We regret.
yeah, we regret it. Yeah, and it's actually so painful, but like you get used to it because of how, like, you know, like once you get rejection a lot, it's like, you know, yeah. So that's the problem I have, and like I saw this post on LinkedIn yesterday. So it was like kind of like a cycle, right? It was like, I don't have a job because I don't have experience, because I don't have a job, because I don't have experience, because I don't have a job, right? Chicken and egg problem, right? So any employers like, I want a developer with at least 2 years of experience. It's like, where do I get this 2 years of experience, right? So that's the problem you will face most definitely coming in as a junior, because a lot of people tend to think or come into the industry with a degree, for example, or like a diploma. But the problem is, more often than not, they don't care, unless you're going to probably work in government. What speaks volumes is your work, not, you know, the degree doesn't do the work. Yeah. You do the work. I mean, the degree can like speak and like get you into the interview maybe, but like it doesn't do the work. So, and companies have faced this a lot when they, like, you know, had developers or, you know, tech people who had these like amazing grades and like, but then when it's time to do the work, you know, you can't cram, pass and forget, you know, applications and all that. So I feel like that's the problem or the greatest challenge, you know, and how would one go past that phase? I would say, like, you know, start building your own projects, no matter how small they are, you know. If I don't know, here's a quick idea. Just like if you go to church every Sunday and then like you could just create a small application to, like, you know, ofamunelo, you know, on like agapalaguas church fandag, you know, like, yeah, and in as much as that maybe might not scale into like the biggest idea or the next Facebook, but it's proof that I can legit do something, right? So here's an application, it has a good user interface, and you can click these buttons and, like, you know, it does these and interacts with, you know, I don't know, a payment gateway. You can actually make payments. It connects to your bank, you know, and like, you know, and it sends it to the bank's, the church's bank account. Like, I don't know, it's not a really huge or marketable idea, but it's proof that, like, you can actually get the job done. Right? Put you in a corporate space and you are better than 90% of the developers.
Because you do have experience.
Yeah. Because like most of the time it's like, yeah, they're looking for like a developer who can create a website or like an online store, and you come there with this, like, you know, dummy application. It's not even a dummy application at that point. You come there with that application that you have built, you know, and you stand out from the crowd, because a lot of people come there with, you know, applications that they created from YouTube tutorials, like by just following the guy on YouTube saying like, yeah, you just do this to-do application, you know. They are valuable, but like there's just something about taking the initiative and doing something, you know, of your own, solving a problem once, because at the end of the day, software is just like a tool, right, to solve problems. If you can identify a problem and you can solve a problem, then like you are like better than like 90% of like, you know, the people out there. So yeah, that's at least how I got to, you know, establishing myself past that initial barrier. And I've seen a lot of people go like, you know, that route of like side projects and like, and you know, and you tend to like stand out easily.
Yeah, that's dope. And I think, you know, to bridge that kind of like gap, we already have institutions that we've spoken about earlier, like Umuzi. You know, I think that they are there to actually give you the experience that the employer is trying to get from you before they actually give you a job. Before we jump into the next question, actually, we haven't spoken about challenges for developers who are in jobs.
Okay, cool. Now, once you get into a job, your challenges might not necessarily be like technical. Your challenges might be, so okay, I'm just gonna speak from my experience right now, right? So it's easy to get comfortable in a corporation, right? So I see a lot of people get jobs and then they chill. It's like, yeah, well, my manager said I should do, let's say my manager said I should like create like a small like, you know, feature for, or just like a landing page, you know, like a landing page for our company, you know, and that's my project for the month. A lot of people are comfortable with chilling, you know, they have spare time and then they just chill. The thing is, and this is like not a short time or like a problem that is noticed within a short space of time, but it's something that you see over like, you know, years or months, is that like people get complacent, right? And then they fall out of sync with the industry, right? Because it's a very fast-paced moving industry, right? Technology moves at the speed of light or very close to it. So if you are not constantly learning, it's very easy to get outdated, right? So so basically it's a challenge that like you won't see on day one, right? So yeah, lifelong learning, and I know for some people it's a problem, and that's why software development might not be for everyone, because some people are like, yeah, no, I've graduated now, towards the span, like it's time to chill, right? You can't do that in software dev. You'll probably like, you know, get spotted, and like, yeah, you won't make it like to senior level. Another problem that I noticed as a junior software developer is the feeling of feeling like you aren't like, you know, capable enough, you know.
I think that's the imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, yeah, like you feeling like an imposter. No, I'm fetush. Majitaba fish, and I'm not gonna get at home, like, am I really good enough? And then they give you your first project or the first couple of projects. It's like, yes, no, I don't know that language, or I don't know how to, you know, do whatever task it is they assigned to you. And it's a common feeling that I think everyone goes through, right? And some people break, right? Some people get imposter syndrome and then they like freeze and like it's like hands up and then like, oh, okay, fuck it, and they throw in the towel. Right, and it is a huge problem, and I think the way to like, you know, go through that is to like, you know, just ask and don't be afraid to like look stupid, because it's gonna cost you a lot more by not asking, you know, or like at least maybe like getting a mentor or, you know, in that phase, because like because even like your mentors and all that, they'll tell you how they also went through that. They also felt dumb on their first day, you know, at work. They still feel dumb. Like nobody knows what they're doing. Like everybody's just like winging it, you know. And once you realize that, damn, and like once like you see like, you know, your seniors also Googling how to do something very stupid, you're like, and like you know, so, and then like, you know, you get to like then build that confidence that actually I am capable, actually I am smart, and I am worthy, you know, of this position that I've, you know, fortunate enough been like granted. So
yeah, because like I think the main point is not basically in knowing, but it's in your willingness to know.
Yeah.
Like, what extent are you willing to go to in order to learn something that you didn't know?
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's like a plethora of information out there that we can leverage, and like Google, for instance, like you said. And I think now with, you know, new technology emerging, you know, places where you can get information is just crazy.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of that, like funny enough, ChatGPT, shout out. I'm saying this because 2 weeks ago, right? So I was with my manager and we were talking about how we need to build this one feature, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Let me try ChatGPT and see if we could do this. I asked ChatGPT, how do I do ABC? It gave us the code. We were like, how do we do, you know, this task in JavaScript? Sure. It gave us the code. I literally copied and pasted it. Yeah. And we had like a production ready application that we deployed and is now live.
Joe, I used ChatGPT. I started using it like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And it's life changing.
It's fine.
I promise you. Like it feels to some extent that it replaces people who do what we do, but then you realize that at the end of the day, it will need somebody who will ask it to do these things. Yeah. And that's where you come in. So with the help of ChatGPT, I managed to do a month's worth of work in 1 day.
In 1 day?
In 1 day.
That's amazing.
Hey Joe, I sent that one to my manager. She was like, wow, I love your work, bro. You know? Like I just love how efficiency is brought by understanding these technologies and how they can just beautifully sync with humans and help us, you know, like make us feel like better creatives. Yeah.
I mean, that applies to everyone. Like, I mean, even you in the creative space, I don't know, like, are you afraid that like you're gonna lose your job? But that's a conversation for another day. But like, it's basically the, you know, ability to, you know, seek information that like, you know, actually matters, and like, you know, being able to like use these tools. I mean, even Google itself, you know, so there's the average person who like Googles, and then there's like, you know, professional Googlers, right? Like they are like, you know, tricks to actually Googling, to finding what you want. And now with the advent of ChatGPT, it takes it like a step, you know,
Bro,
a step further.
Like I realized that if you apply some sort of like some level of expertise with how you query stuff on ChatGPT, it gives you much better responses based on how you ask it. You know, because you can have like a random person ask it the same question that you would ask it, but because of how you asked it, it will give you like totally different responses. And I realized that my responses from earlier, they were super mediocre, and the stuff that I'm like, is ChatGPT, is this all you can do, really? And then later on now, the more I learn about the tech, I realize that actually the tech wasn't the problem, but I was the problem. You know? So yeah, man, before we actually make this conversation about ChatGPT, let's move on to... Yeah, we definitely should have another session that is specifically dedicated to how to use tech to become better in your spaces, you know, because there's just endless, bro. Let's talk about skills that you think would be critical for somebody who is trying to get a job as a software developer in the corporate space.
I think there's only one skill. And it's not mathematics. It's actually just the willingness to learn, like the ability to learn. Like learning how to learn is a skill. Learning how to learn is a skill, and like if you can figure out how to improve your ability to learn faster, you know, retain information, then like I think that's where you'll go far, right? Because software development as well is broad, right? You could be building websites, you could be, you know, programming, I don't know, stuff at a low level on like chips and all that. Like so it's also very broad. Like some people program, I don't know, like what you call, some people go down to programming rockets, you know, but at the fundamental, like, you know, basics of it is just like if you can learn how to learn, you can actually maneuver your way around. As I had told you, I moved from like data science and analytics, to like software development. So you are constantly moving either between programming languages and like just not like and like not necessarily go like technical about it, but like so programming languages effectively are, you can imagine human languages, right? So if you are trying to move from speaking in Sepedi to speaking in Zulu to speaking in French to speaking in like Italian or whatever, like if you can like get that sorted, then like I feel like you could effectively go very far. And just being curious, if you are curious, I don't think there's nothing you can't solve.
Like what you're saying just reminds me of this code. It says the hard skill gets you the job, but the soft skill keeps you at the job. And right now it seems like the most important soft skill is just the willingness to learn. And if maybe you were to look at ways in which you can make a very strong impression in an interview for for like a software development role, because right now they don't know that you are willing to learn or you are willing to work under pressure, because there's a bunch of lies that we would say just to get a job. And only when you start the job, then they realize it was an accident. So how can we make our recruiters make an accident, like as in you're looking for a job? Like what I mean basically is that not to lie to them, but how do we make like that strong first impression?
So I mean your tech interviews are obviously, you have like many rounds of interviews, right? In tech. So initially, so you have your HR type of questions, right? And those like are mostly just about you, like tell me about yourself and all that. So those I feel like people kind of like, it's easy to like bullshit your way through, right? Like like I'm a hard worker, and all that. Like so it's easy to bullshit your way through the HR one, and now you have the technical one, right? And that's where now you flex your technical muscles. And it's like you get like questions which would try to see your way of thinking, right? And a lot of people fumble where they try to seem smarter than they actually are. And I always say, if you don't know something, say I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. Right? So that goes a long way, because it shows that, oh damn, this guy's not arrogant, because some people are just dread to try and prove a point in an interview, not trying to prove a point, right? You're just trying to like show the recruiter how you think, and that's pretty much, most of the time there's no right answer. Like you get questions in programming which are similar to riddles, which I had failed earlier on. But so effectively, if you can get there and squash your basics, and then from there, if it's like specifically related to something you haven't done, just like be honest and like, I haven't done that before, but I mean, given the opportunity, I could learn. And that's I think what they're looking for. They're not necessarily looking for like who got the most answers, who got total. That I don't think that's, from at least my experience, and my experience like talking to recruiters, post interview, what could I have done better, from that like feedback I got, I then like stopped like trying to like seem like I'm the smart wizard, of which I'm not.
See. So that's really dope, man. I mean, I also wanted to talk about your gig working for this Australian-based company. You comfortable talking about that?
Jeez. All right, let's go.
Away, sweet. I think it's very important to talk about these things because they just kind of like highlight how limitless this world, the current world, actually is. Like the boundaries because of the state of digital and how it's changing everything, they're kind of like blaring out, you know. And let's talk about that gig. How did this company find you? And how was just your experience working with somebody who is in Australia and then you are here in South Africa? Well, obviously with the different time zones.
It's crazy. Yeah. So well, they found me on LinkedIn, and this is like at a time where they found me on Indeed. I mean, they used my LinkedIn like profile as like a reference and all that. But this was at a time where I was like actively blogging, right? So I was blogging about a programming language called Rust, and which has like a very high learning curve and whatnot. So I was like enjoying like blogging and sharing my learning experiences.
For those, excuse me, Chaka, who interrupt. For those people who don't know what blogging is just essentially creating written work and publishing it on the internet for people to read. You know, it's just like you have like a blog, so you write. It's like a journal on a digital space. So that's what he was doing.
So I was like journaling online about like my learning, right? So I had fallen in love with this idea of like, you know, learning publicly. So I applied to one gig, and then they checked out my profile. Because I have my website on my like CV, like go here, you know, so you can see my body of work, right? So the founder was like quite like kind of like impressed with that. So that's how I got an interview. Like I think I went through like 3 rounds of interviews. You know, 2 were technical. One was more like HR, high level type of. So this was like kind of like evident how. Like ever since, more especially, I think this was ever since COVID, you see how the competition right now, right, is like on a global scale. It's not so much about you competing with like, I don't know, the 5 other guys in your neighborhood, you know, who's the best bricklayer, right? Right now it's like in the world, who's the best bricklayer? Right, because like now companies are hiring from all across the world, so that's effectively how, you know, the company was now, you know, looking for people, you know, across the world, across the internet, and that's how they found me, because I was sharing my body of work. And I mean, I got to get along with them. It's just that we had to like link up either very early my time or very late, because, you know, Australia is like 6 hours ahead of our time. So but it was. I mean, quite a nice experience, honestly, and so I mean, the world is yours, effectively. Shout out, AKA.
Hey bro, may he's rest in peace, bro.
RIP.
Take us through your creation of TravCar. Why did you decide that you wanted to create TravCar? What is it? And just like your experience around just that entrepreneurial journey.
So on the App Store right now, about 25 people actually downloaded the app, right? So 25 sounds like not a huge number, but like, I mean, we're done from 0, bro. Like, I'm happy. So if we can use this as a benchmark, okay. This is never easy. Okay, cool. So TravCar is a ride-sharing platform that enables people to move from city to city, and like, you know, as a driver, you can share that I have 3 empty seats in my car, and then like I'm offering them for 200 rand each. So generally lower than your market price for your taxis. And for users, it's like a way to, you know, engage with other people and not like necessarily have to like go through either high costs of like public transportation or the inconvenience of public transportation, because like, you know, you're not gonna fetch me by my house, still gonna like wait in queue, taxi di fedile, blah 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 blah. Everybody knows like all those struggles that come with like public transportation in South Africa. So I used to like come to Joburg a lot, right? So I was moving between Johannesburg and Polokwane, and I mean, I used to like hike a lot, right? But then it was kind of like a problem because there was no way for my family to know if, you know, refitle sharp, you know, and then kitsamalama, you know, who's the driver, and who are the other passengers. But yeah, so effectively I was like, okay, cool. I can actually try and digitize this process and increase the level of trust between people. Because the driver, one, doesn't trust me, and I don't trust the driver, right? My family doesn't trust the driver, Wes. So I was like, you can actually create profiles where people can like, give reviews, the same way you have like Airbnb and you can review a place, you can review a driver. Because Masai was actually such a good guy. He was making jokes. He bought us snacks along the way, and then even next time, so when someone wants to like get a ride and then open out like profile Masai, this guy's given 10 rides on the platform already. And then one of the people might actually be my friend.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. There's so much more trust, that has been created. And once you have trust, you unlock a high level of economic value, because there are a lot of people who don't share rides simply because of trust, right? A lot of people don't hitchhike.
I mean, would I do that? Well, I hitchhiked when I was going to Lesotho in January, and that was like a scary experience because I traveled through the night, and it was like, do I trust these guys?
Yeah. And you can imagine, this is South Africa. You can imagine, would I allow my own mom to hike? No. Exactly, because I have this form of uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty. But maybe I would allow, my mom bolts a lot now. She bolts more than I do. Because like Bolt, the driver is registered, the driver probably has like, maybe 50 plus rides under their belt, and all that. The car is registered and all that, which is information that like, once you have, you then become comfortable and you are willing to pay a premium, right? Because hiking doesn't pick off because of it's cheap, right? So just because something is cheap doesn't mean you have a lot of people, right? You can say a ride is 0 rands, but people will still not come because they don't trust. Who's this guy who's going to give me the ride? Even if right now, no, mama's allowed, don't put my mom that car, even if it's free, right? But and I'd still be willing to pay the Uber, like 200 rand. Or like 300 rand.
And the cheaper it is, the more suspicious it is.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Mahala. These people are going to stop on the side of the road and probably like, try and like, take, your valuables or whatever. So that's kind of like the background of why I decided to like then create TravCar. So like I then started learning how to create user interfaces. I had no experience like creating like, client-facing applications because I was coming from a data science background. So in my mind, everything was like machine learning or like analytics or like, so I was like, but like, well, I can't use like my current tool set to solve this problem, So I was like, okay, cool. Now I need to maybe learn how to like use a different tool, So now I learned like, your tools that allow you like JavaScript, Well, I used a programming language called Flutter, created by Google. Well, it's a framework on a programming language called Dart, but basically, it allows you to create mobile applications that work for both Android and iOS.
You write code on them, or is it like your plug and play?
You write code.
Okay.
So you write code.
So you can't do the same thing on Python.
So, I mean, there are libraries that might allow you to like create mobile applications with Python, but the ecosystem for them is not necessarily very great. Okay. Yeah. So there's Python is a programming language for those who don't know.
That's why I mentioned it. I wanted to sound smart, like I know something.
It's always a red flag whenever I hear someone says like, just mentions like programming languages, all of a sudden it's like, Python. So Python normally is used by people in the analytics space, because one, it is very easy to learn. So it's a good first, programming language. So if you're trying to get into programming, Python first choice, great. So I didn't use Python. I knew Python very well, extensively at that point. But then like I had to like learn something new for the job at hand, because I had to, how like when you a lot of people fall into this trap that like when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So, so in this case, I wasn't trying to nail stuff. Whatever. So that's why I had to like change and learn how to like use a different, tool. So I then built this and I published it on the Google Play Store. I didn't have an iPhone. I tried to publish iOS. I didn't have an iPhone. Didn't have like a Mac like I do now. Because I made it now.
Because no,
no, because of it. But back then I didn't have like, I just had like my old computer. But I was like, okay, I'll just do what I can with what I have. So no, Play Store. I got my developer license over there, and then published over there, and then I got like some downloads, people making requests on the application, and it was a really amazing journey because I was learning a lot every single day because it was stuff I was previously not exposed to. Yeah. Right now I'm learning how databases work and how to interact with them and how to like analyze how people's behavior on my own application works. Like it was actually so amazing, and I was interacting with a lot of people. So I wasn't actually like a coder only. At that time, I'm interacting with people. I'm trying to understand what are you using to move in between cities and all that. So I was doing like everything actually, like because whenever you start any endeavor, most of the time you have to do the groundwork yourself. You can't outsource your sales and marketing initially. So I had to like do everything, and that gave me like a good understanding of like all that goes into building platforms and building communities over and above just coding. So it was a very exciting time. So while I was doing that, that's when I got that Telkom job offer. Right?
See.
And I was like, hey guys, peace. You guys can like hike again. I'm out. I'm out. These guys are paying me. You guys are playing. So I then like left that, but it was like a really great learning experience. And it's still something that I still point to right now, like I can actually do that, like anything that like you can think of, you can quickly, within a matter of like days, if not weeks, bring a dummy version of it to life. Not necessarily even dummy, but like an ugly version of it to life. If there's a saying that says if like your product takes too long, or if your product your first version of your product is not ugly, you took too long to launch. So that was kind of like, I was kind of like in that mind state of like move fast and break things. So yeah, which is quite important for like software developers. So and that's helped me a lot in my career up till date, where like I can like quickly bring something to life at work, and then like I can like make it better over time.
Well, speaking of things that helped you over time, hackathons. Yeah. Right? I want us to look into hackathons. Like, would you say, like, firstly, I want you to tell us what are they, and then would you advise any aspiring like software developers to get involved in them? And maybe if you have been involved in any hackathons, what was the experience? Because I know obviously you have been involved in one of those, like we built Nateed at some point. So yeah, just talk us through the idea of hackathons.
Okay, cool. So what's a hackathon? Okay, cool. So anybody who knows marathons, right? So if you know what a marathon is, marathons where like a group of runners come to run very long distances.
So a hackathon is a group of hackers running.
Yeah. So what's a hacker? Hacker is a very bad person who like hacks or who breaks systems, computer systems. And this time hopefully like doing that for good, right? So not necessarily like what you see on TV, like people just typing away, but like effectively a hackathon is just like an event that normally happens between like 1 to 3 days, where like a group of computer programmers, predominantly computer programmers, come together to build solutions. So there's a scope to it, right? So it might be how to let's say right now the theme, I'm seeing a plant over here, so I'm just gonna give an example of this plant. How to help plants grow better using technology. Right, and then now you have these programmers who come together to ideate around how we can like use, I don't know, maybe image recognition. Put a camera over there that like looks at the plant, and then like I don't know, maybe every every time it sees a brown like a leaf or a spot of a brown, a brown spot on a leaf, then like just, I don't know, put water inside. Like, I don't know, just like sprinkle water in it. Like that's maybe an idea that you can take onto a hackathon and then try and build like.
Is that an idea? Actually, is that an idea that exists?
I don't know, man. Like who?
I think I saw something like that on IG when I was scrolling through. So like this guy would scan a plant.
Yeah.
Like you see these gray areas that are bent.
Yeah.
So they would like usually we would cut those and allow the leaf to grow again. Yeah. So that app, what it does, you would take a picture, it tells you what plant it is, and it gives you the suggested remedies. Like it will tell you that mix coffee and salt, and then water it with that solution instead of cutting it.
Yeah, so there are like such solutions on the market. I'm sure they would probably have a lot of free ones, even because basically what you would have over there is just like image recognition and classification, right? So you take an image, it gets classified as this type of leaf, right? Is a leaf spotted? Number one, yes, no. If a leaf is spotted, what kind of leaf is it? So you have the same way you have like your machine learning models for like, let's say ChatGPT, which are trained, right? So now this one would be for images, right? So it would be trained over like seeing, so let's say they show it a bunch of leaves, right? And then like humans classify and then say this one is a, I don't know, like the cactus plant. And then this one is a rose. And then this one is a, I don't know, I'm not a plant dad, but like, yeah, it's like whatever, plant X, right? Like, so now you have these buckets of like, categories of plants, right? And then now, furthermore, you can have like, that, like what you call, like, can then classify what type of, is this a good plant? No, it's not a good plant. Now, or it's not in a good state at least. And then you can then like go further and then say, like what type of disease is it? I'm sure like there are people who study like plants and then who might know that like, okay, cool, this type of brown leaf is probably because of X disease, and then there's a remedy to it. So that's how, such things probably went through a lot of hackathons, probably, maybe. But like hackathons like, are really exciting because there's an incentive and there's a time frame, right? So it's like you start on a Friday and it's like by Sunday, you need to get this out. Right, so you need to be presenting on Sunday. Now you have to like gather with your team, drink a lot of coffee, drink a lot of Red Bull, no sleep for the most part, because you're trying to like build this thing real quick, and get a demo of it by like Sunday evening, So I really like the idea of hackathons because that's where you actually get to see whether someone works well under pressure. Not in an interview. People bullshit in interviews. People get to interviews, I work well under pressure. Yeah, man, until they have to work under pressure. So in a hackathon, you actually do work under pressure. And chances are you're not going to get any prize money or anything. There is a chance that you might, like, normally, like, in your top three, like, maybe, like, you can, like, I don't know, maybe get, depending on how big the hackathon is, maybe 100,000, for your team, or like 50,000, whatever the case may be. But it's a nice way to get like, a real world application, and like, you can even get jobs and meet people. I've made long life friends from hackathons, So I truly believe that like, hackathons are a good way for mostly junior people to like get exposure to the industry and building real world solutions. I love hackathons and
sure. And speaking of like hackathons being like a great place to network, I think it's highly important because like networking is one of the very necessary skills into getting into or getting squeezed into the industry.
Yes, it's that idea of like who do you know, right? If you know someone who's like, you know, at a certain company, they might tell you that no, I'm fit to know which lady boss. You know, not that they're gonna like hire you, but like, you know, they can at least, you know, let you know when such opportunities arise. Or even co-founders. I mean, I'm a big fan of like entrepreneurial ventures, you know, and you can find co-founders over there, right? And that's part of networking. Now it's like you met this amazing co-founder because you now know how this person works, right? And it's like, dog, I want to start a company with you. It's not related to what we did at the hackathon, but like, I love how, you know, you are a great presenter, for example. Like, you know how to talk to people. I just know how to code. You know how to talk to people, you are a great co-founder because like, you know, you compliment me where I lack, you know, so that's why I over and above spanning, you know, you still have like, you know, other stuff that we do on the side that like, you know, you would like, otherwise not have.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you find that you're really dope behind the keyboard, but can you really sell it to the masses? Yeah. So let's talk about your most successful run in your hackathon career.
Yeah. I mean, damn, I actually haven't attended a lot of hackathons, by the way. I think I've only been to 3 and I've won none. Funny enough. Yeah, so I've won none, but like I've won a lot of friends, you know. Yeah, I've won a lot of friends that still till today, you know, help me out. If I need to learn a certain tech stack, they would share resources with me. Anytime, even when I was building TravCar, I would call on those friends and be like, I need to know how, you know, how do we process payments? One of my friends, you know, Rock used to work for Paystack. You know, like we worked together at Hackathon. He went to work for Paystack. Now he knows how processing payments works, right? So I need to process payments for TravCars. Like, yo, Rock, how do we do this? So it's like, that's what I'm saying by like, you know, it's a win-win. You don't win the prize and go on stage, but you know, you win a friendship. You win, you know, advisors. They don't have to be your friends.
Let's talk about like the idea that you still today you feel like, wow, that hackathon idea was really dope. And how far did you go with it, like specifically in the hackathon contest?
I didn't get that.
Like, what's that idea that you feel like it could have gone further than it did?
I feel like Nated was like the closest to real world application that we had built. So we had built this small application, right, called Nated. So the idea behind it was to try and like, you know, reduce food wastage, you know, because there's a lot of hunger around the world. I don't know if you've experienced this, but everybody has, right? When you don't finish your food and then your mom is like, go fetch a plate. There are a lot of people can't play, but you know, but it's like, yeah, fine. How do I get this food to that person? So hunger is actually a logistics problem, right? And we still have a lot of food wastage coming all the way from like your farm to like your store, right? So the idea behind it was like, okay, cool. Now, if food is about to, let's say, is not being sold and is about to expire, because shops would throw it away once it gets to the best before date. It's not expired, but they throw it away. Best before, expiry, two different things. They throw it away, right? Instead of throwing it away, just before that, you could like reduce the price of that, right? And then you have like a second life market. Right? So that was the idea behind it. Like right now, if, you know, Spar puts out like a notification, like my local Spar puts out a notification, hey yo, we've got milk, you know, we've got a 1 liter, I don't know, bottle of milk, we can sell it to you for 5 rand. So instead of them throwing it away, they're gonna get 5 rand. They would have got 0. Now I can buy it for 5 rand because they're throwing it out now. But if I can come, I can just quickly grab it. Right, so that was like the whole idea. So for them, instead of getting 0, you can at least they can like make you know, less than half of what they would. Let's say it's a third of what they would make, but it's still like a lot of money, and we're talking hundreds of millions of rands. So it is like a huge market, and it is a huge problem that I feel like, still till today is largely going unsolved. Yeah, so that's like the best idea I think we've come up at a hackathon. We built a dummy version of it that users being stores could be able to like post, and like users who are within a town or within a neighborhood could like get notifications. Yeah.
Sweet. Fire. Big ups to Nated. Man, I hope that someday we have like the courage and the strength. I don't know, maybe it's time we need to actually bring that project up and like run with it, bro. I don't know, because like I still feel like that it was solving like a serious problem. So just before we close it, man, let's briefly talk about where you are currently and where does the road lead for you, like in your career specifically as a software developer?
So currently I'm on the VodaPay team. So yeah, I'm building I'm the main developer. Yeah, you must talk to me. Nice.
Talk to me. Nice.
Yeah. So I'm on the VodaPay team, chatbot side. So yeah, I actually just started working there about a week ago. Yeah. So I'm still new to the space, and yeah, where do I see myself in the future? I always say I don't know. I don't know. Like, life is so not linear. Like, it's not like there's a linear trajectory to life. You're not born right now because you are here. 5 years down the line, be management. I don't know. Like, I'm open to like, you could hear that I'm a carpenter like 5 years from now. I don't know, and that's not a problem, right? So I'm just like fascinated, like, by the idea that like I can, spend another day of my life solving real world problems that users face, and like use technology, to as an enabler, and that's pretty much what I'm excited about. 5 years from now, I'm probably going to be a way much better developer than I am right now. Where am I going to be working? Probably maybe within the same, company or elsewhere. I don't know, but I'm really excited of like what the future holds, and like, what, one could like, go on to solving.
Sweet, dog. You met, I want to talk about this. You met, come on, who's this guy?
Branson.
You met, come on.
What does he do?
The Vision Mobile
Richard
guy.
Branson.
Yes. You met Richard Branson, dog. Where did you meet him? Like, you even took a selfie.
Yeah.
What did you say to him? Like,
so it was funny. I met Richard Branson in Ilovo. So Ilovo is like so it's close to like close to Rosebank.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a stadium over there. I think they normally use it for cricket. So it was the Nelson Mandela 100th birthday anniversary.
Oh,
yeah. So you had a lot of people who were there. Like you had your Richard Bransons, Barack Obama was the main speaker. Right, so you had a lot of people who were there. So like I'm sitting on the grandstands, right? So and I'm seeing like Richard Branson, who is like my idol ever since I was a kid.
Right?
And I'm seeing him over there, and I'm like, damn. So I go onto Twitter and I'm tweeting, and I'm like, at Richard Branson, I wanna talk to you. I want to pitch to you, And then like he's there in the tent, like he's doing his own thing. I don't think he manages his own account, but like I was just trying my luck. I was like, hey, and I'm fair too. Sure. So, well, I never got that response. So now, as I'm walking out, I see a guy, with like, like bodyguards, and like, he's like a bit hairy and all that. And like, I'm like, is that him? And I'm like, Jesus, who else has bodyguards? And I'm like, that's him. Yeah. So now I run towards him. Now I'm running towards Branson, and then his bodyguard is like, like umpethaga ka current. Yeah, umpethaga current dhaman wa kwatra mana ke rambe duwa ku kwatisa. So I'm like, hey doctor, yes. You know, so because I've read like I think probably all his books, right? And at some point he says that his team calls him Dr. Yes because he's always open to like new ideas, right? So I'm like Dr. Yes, and then he looks back and he laughs.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's like, come through. And then like I walk up to him and then he's like, yeah, you can walk me to my car.
Bro.
You know? And then now I'm starstruck. And I'm like, Mr. Branson, I want to do business with you. Because I'm starstruck, you know, like that idea of like I never thought like I'd probably like ever meet this guy.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you were to ask me, am I ever gonna meet Branson, I was probably gonna tell you, fuck no. Right. So now I'm with him and now we're talking about random stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do business with you. And he's like, yeah, I'd be happy to, you know, I'm really, you know, welcome to like, I really welcome the idea of like, you know, working with like young stars, you know, all across Africa. And then I think they had like a program, I think that was run by Obama. And then I think it was like African, I don't know, it was like 30 Africans that he was helping out. So Branson was part of that at some point. So he was like, no, I'm fit to Bona. They're open to working with like the youth and all that, you know. And then like he was like, yeah, man, don't ever like hold back. You know, you should always like, you know, chase down your ideas, no matter how crazy they are, you know. Yeah, so it was like not too long. We didn't sit down for a conversation. It was like as we were walking and I was just shaking. So yeah, man, that kind of like gave me that like, you're fit to black child. It's possible. It's possible. You know, like it's possible. Like, cause when you realize that like your idols are actually human beings, like, right, bro, like you breathe just like I do. Damn, strange. Like so for me that was like, you know, kind of like eye opening. I'm like, damn, and like Daman, you know, like he doesn't breathe flavored air or anything. Like he's just like normal. So that was like very exciting, like thing that like, you know, I still hold on to like that memory, you know. And yeah, I really hope to meet him again this time, you know, maybe with a new startup or maybe like work, you know, for Virgin. You know, yeah. Hit me up, Richard Branson. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna use that picture in my application. You know, like no. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, it was such a dope session, conversation I had with you. Like I said, you have like some really fascinating stuff going on with you, and I'm inspired myself, bro. Like I don't want to lie. I just want to say danko for doing this with us, dog. Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for having me, brother. I really love, you know. That hurts, but that's all just the one. Yeah, man. Until next time, brother.
What's up? And that, Bafetu, is how we come to the end of episode 2, navigating the job market as a junior software developer. Although he's no longer a junior, really. So thank you so much for staying with us until the end. Do engage with us. Let us know what you have learned in the comment section, or even better, drop Masai any related questions and he will be answering them right after you have dropped them actually in the comment section. Make sure that you do like this episode and let your friends know that we do exist. So until the next one, stay dangerous and stay curious. Bye! I forgot from everyone at TMC.